Everybody has been dealing with heavy rain. A lot of you have been hearing the thunder as a result of the intense lightning. We've been seeing extreme wind gusts as well. But right around Mississippi Highway 67, there's been a little bit of what's known as a couplet, a little sign of rotation right there where you see it, Lamey Bridge Road. Jen's pulled that up for you right here at Mississippi Highway 15, where you see this bright shade of red and green. That is where a possible tornado would be located because of the tight rotation of the winds. Now, we've seen straight line winds be pretty breezy so far today, but this couplet's going to be working its way to the north and east, and it's going to be tracking in a hurry. And the movement of that particular storm from the National Weather Service office has this thing moving at roughly 35 miles an hour out of the north and east. So, Jim, what we can do is we can lay that out to a 35 mile an hour northeast track and see what some of the locations are, some of the estimations of time on our storm tracker, and see what we're expecting to see time-wise and who's going to be in what location. And it looks like it would be around Old Americus at 11:41, Movella at 11:52, assuming it holds together. But this is just one issue that we're going to be faced with today. The tornado is one of many. Lightning, heavy rain, flash flooding, straight-line winds. The Weather Service has mentioned that we could have wind gusts even getting up to 80 miles an hour with some of these storms. That is hurricane-force winds, because hurricanes, the Category 1 hurricane is 74 miles an hour. So if we get a wind gust of 80, it's well beyond that. And look at the whole scope here. Just look at how many spots are dealing with rain and storms. Mobile County getting covered with heavy rain and lightning. Chinchula, Saraland, Wilmer, Sims, even downtown Mobile and midtown Mobile getting hit with heavy rain and lightning. We'll zoom in toward that because I know here at the television station, we've been hearing thunder just popping for the last several minutes right when Studio 10 was wrapping up. Look at that. This is Moffett Road, Highway 98. You can see everyone around Magnolia Grove, all the way up toward the South Alabama campus. Providence Hospital, Old Shell Road, I-65 at Dauphin Street, 8 Mile, dealing with intense amounts of lightning. And then our television station's right there, McGowan Park, so we can clearly hear the rumbles of thunder from all of these storms. And look how heavy the rain is. The dark shade of red simply represents torrential heavy rain. And it is pouring around Spring Hill Avenue, west of I-65. Shops at Bel Air getting hit hard with rain. Ziegler Boulevard out by the grounds, that's where we had our touch-a-truck. That's getting hit with heavy rain. The rain a bit lighter in downtown Mobile, but it's not going to take much to get this band of heavy rain to shift farther off to the east. And when we continue to have opportunities of rain that heavy hitting the same spots over and over, we could easily have a flash flooding threat. We don't have that yet, but it's a possibility. Heavy rain also for places like Sims, Millertown, Smithtown, Cushla. There's 8 Mile. There's Saraland, Satsuma. You go just a little bit east of those metros and things are a bit lighter. And Saraland High School, which is at exit 13 off I-65, they're starting to get some of the heavier pockets of rain. Here's Celeste Road, which is off exit 15 at I-65, and that runs up toward Citronelle. If you live off Celeste Road, and there are a lot of subdivisions on Celeste Road, there is tons of heavy rain that's hitting that part of Mobile County. Now, you see the rain and storms go all the way off to Wilmer, but we look in Baldwin County, and it's a little different story. A lot of the rain is lighter, with the exception of what's going on right here between Daphne and Fairhope. That's where you got a very heavy downpour of rain. The State Highway 104 continuing to see that as well. Even Loxley getting some heavy rain. Spanish Fort at the moment, not so much. But again, you're close enough to these big storms in Mobile that you can easily start to see the rain intensity picking up. But the heaviest rain in Baldwin County right now between Daphne and Fairhope, a little rumble of thunder or two because we are picking up some lightning strikes with this. And then farther inland, there really isn't much of anything. Now, Hurley, you're not in the tornado warning, but boy, are you getting hit hard with heavy rain and lightning right now. And that's extending down Mississippi Highway 63. And then off to the west, the main line of storms hasn't even gotten here yet. That was something Jennifer was emphasizing at the end of Studio 10 was we're seeing intense storms show up, but the main line still hasn't arrived. That's still west of us, and that's what's going to be that's why this severe weather threat's going to take so long. That line is just now crossing through Wiggins, and it's not even going to be approaching us until the early afternoon and might not even exit those of you in our Florida counties until later tonight, around 9, 10 o'clock. So this is going to be a prolonged severe weather event that you just have to be on standby for, and just make sure that you're staying weather aware. You're able to get warnings throughout the day. This is a bigger look look at the watch warning map. Now, the tornado watch, this is going to go all the way till 5 o'clock. Likely we will see it probably going more till 9 or 10 if you're east of I-65. What will happen is at 5, when this one expires, they'll issue a new one. But for now, the tornado watch is in play till 5. Severe thunderstorm warnings are up for our Mississippi counties, and then you got that one tornado warning in Jackson County. And that's the reason why we're on the air doing breaking severe weather coverage with you here on Fox 10. And I'm here along with Jennifer Lambers, and we've got Nicholas Herboso. He's also, as you know, part of our STORMtracker team, and he's in the field, and we'll have updates with him later this hour as well. And then Jason and Matt will be coming in a little later on today and into this afternoon. But if you're just joining us, here's the tornado warning. This is the reason why we're on the air. This is in play till 11:45 because of a thunderstorm that is showing signs of rotation, and enough rotation that the Weather Service felt it necessary to issue the tornado warning. And even though that covers just a little spot in the area as a whole, because granted, a lot of you are dealing with nasty weather, this is the most life-threatening, and it's right here around Mississippi Highway 15, Lamy Bridge Road, right there with that bright shade of red. That is the velocity couplet that would show indications of a rotating wind. That's where you have the most lightning, and that's tracking northeast at 35 miles an hour. It should dodge Van Cleve. If you know anyone that lives in Van Cleve off of Mississippi Highway 57 in Jackson County, it should dodge them. It should dodge Hickory Hills and Pascagoula. But this is not going to be the last of the severe weather threats for today. We have many, many more. And one thing I have been concerned about since Good Day Gulf Coast ended is the threat for flash flooding, just because we've seen so much heavy rain in Mississippi and it's taking so long to move out. I feel like by the time it gets here, we could end up with that issue. We just got a new sweep scan, and Jen, it looked like, at least in the last sweep scan, the intensity has died off a bit. Is that right?
It's broadening out. So once you start to see some of those colors pushing far away from each other, then that's really the better look that you want to see. And so I do agree with you, Michael, that this last scan that we have, it really looks to be weakening at this time.
And that's something that we're going to keep watching. Now, this is a situation that's always kind of tough to explain. So Jackson County, Mississippi is kind of the outlier here because they are not issued by the National Weather Service in Mobile. Every other county in the viewing area is. Jackson County is part of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Their warnings are issued out of New Orleans. So it's up to the New Orleans National Weather Service office to drop this. The Mobile National Weather Service office that issues the warnings for everyone else, they have nothing to do with this particular county. That's all part of the New Orleans Weather Service office, so it's up to them whether or not to drop it early. And if they do, we'll immediately take you to Fox 10 midday. But for now, we've still got very intense winds. We see these bright shades of colors. Those are intense winds that are showing up that the radar is being able to pick up. What is the inflow wind speed with that right there, Jennifer? Right around Lamy Bridge Road. It's got to be pretty high with the color that bright. I would guess that that's got to be a 60 or maybe even 70 mile an hour wind possibly. That's just a very, very strong pocket of wind right there. It's just north of D'Iberville. When we see colors that bright, typically we end up getting very intense winds. 73 miles an hour. That's right around hurricane force winds. Hurricane force winds are at 74. So that's what we're seeing with the intense winds inside that part of the storm, is almost a hurricane force wind blowing through Lamy Bridge Road just north of D'Iberville, Mississippi in Jackson County. So we have numerous threats from these storms: the straight line winds, the tornadoes, the lightning, the flash flooding. It's just going to be a big problem. And of course, flash flooding could be an issue for the Causeway, the west end of Dauphin Island, because high tide's coming just after 12:30 today. So we're just going to have to continue. And thank you for pulling this up, Jen. This is what the severe weather threats are for the day, the highest of which straight line wind. And that storm example, it's a perfect example of why that's marked so high. Lightning and hail showing up in the slight to elevated zone, just over the elevated zone around for tornado and for flooding. Just got a message from our producer, Braden. Braden, could you repeat that for me? Okay, we have Fox 10 meteorologist Nicholas Herboso. We mentioned he was tracking storms in the STORMtracker vehicle. We have him right now. Nick, how's it going?
And we are doing a little bit of a maneuver here right now. So we're on Interstate 10, and we are flipping back around to go westbound to get ourselves into Jackson County. I'm going to try to get south of this storm that is tornado warned here. And something to tell you, just being out here, and you can see we're getting off on the exit right now, but right now the wind is calm, but there have been moments where the wind has been just really picking up. This is inflow going into that storm. This is inflow going into the squall line that's over there. I've got radar and multiple sources up here in the storm tracker, and I've been watching it closely. But definitely we're going to be watching that squall line with that embedded circulation that's moving into Jackson County, and I know y'all are tracking it hard right now in studio.
That's right, Nick. Thanks a lot. We appreciate that. Yeah, we're just continuing to monitor things with the Weather Service office in New Orleans and watching your live feed. If you're just joining us, the reason why we are on the air and the reason why you're not seeing Fox 10 Midday is because of a tornado warning in Jackson County, Mississippi, which is part of our viewing area. And that's the reason why we are on the air now and staying on the air until that warning either expires or is canceled. Now, it's set to expire at 11:45. It may be dropped sooner than that. We certainly hope it is, but we want to show you some of the other issues going on area-wide because we are seeing some broadening out with that, meaning that the rotation is not as tight as it was, so the probability of a tornadic storm there is low, but the straight-line wind threat, man, it is massive right now north of D'Iberville. We've been picking up wind speeds of close to hurricane force, just over 70-mile-per-hour winds showing up now just at 69 miles an hour. So it's dropped slightly, but still significant winds are showing up within that storm. So even if there's no tornado on the ground, the straight line wind threats are really bad. And that's one thing you do not want to attempt to drive through, which is why we were emphasizing for so many of you to try to get any travel done while we were on the air during Good Day Gulf Coast before all this nastiness settled in. Now, what Jen's pulled up is the wide radar view. If you're east of I-65, you're not dealing with much. If you're north of Mount Vernon, Citronelle, you're not really dealing with much. But you have numerous showers and storms around Mobile County. You've got a few on the eastern shore in Baldwin County, but Mobile County, without a doubt, seeing the most widespread rain and storms that is not underneath any kind of a warning at the moment. You're just dealing with dreary, nasty weather, and you've got breezy south winds to cope with. And then this is the main line right here east of Wiggins, Mississippi. What you're seeing there just to the east of Interstate 59. That is what's going to be working its way in over the next several hours. Now, it might be 1 o'clock in the afternoon till that line begins to approach the Alabama state line. At least based on the latest projections, that's what we've seen. So that's still a couple of hours away. And because that's going to move so slowly, that's one reason why flash flooding could be a big problem with some of these thunderstorms. And just look at how much lightning is popping with this. So if you see that much lightning, you know how loud it is there because of all the thunder that's showing up as a result of that. And we're seeing significant lightning strikes in Mobile County. As mentioned, we heard a lot of thunder right before we came on the air to do our severe weather coverage. As Studio 10 was wrapping up, we were hearing the thunder, and our building is pretty well insulated. And the number of strikes we're seeing in this box Jen just drew is over 260, and that includes most of Baldwin County, all of Mobile County, and about half of George and Jackson County, Mississippi. So what you're looking at in the top right corner of your screen, that's a live shot. Our Hal Shurek is out there in the Causeway. I told you the odds were good we'd see Causeway flooding, and look what we've got, because high tide was coming at 12:30, and when you get south winds ahead of a front at high tide, you're going to see the Causeway flooding is going to happen, and it's going to happen every time that takes place. Sometimes we have storms coming in, but it's at low tide, and when that happens, you don't get Causeway flooding. But if it comes at high tide, you can bank that the Causeway is going to be flooded, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And then in the bottom right, we're continuing to track storms over in Mississippi, and so that's something we'll just be continuing to watch and monitor. And that's Nicholas's camera down there in the bottom right on the STORMtracker vehicle. So we got Nicholas's camera, we got Hal's in the top right. You can see, though, that traffic is flowing still on the Causeway, which is good to see. I don't know how much longer that'll be happening because high tide is at 12:30 to 12:45. So the tide is still going to be rising for about another hour and a half. So it is a possibility that we might see that shut down. But for now, traffic is flowing. And what you're looking at that shot is traffic moving in the, I believe, eastbound lanes. That's the closest to Hal. Hal, though, right there by that barricade, and you could see the water just kind of spilling over that. And not only the water from the bay, but also just water falling from the sky. You've got tons of showers and storms, and the red colors, again, on radar represent torrential downpours of rain. That's where it's just raining extremely hard, where visibilities are tough to see. Now, you've got some light rain, West Mobile County, all the way down to Biola Battery. The rain's not particularly heavy at the moment, but you go over toward the 1065 junction up to Mount Vernon, you've got heavy rain. And of course, over here, 778 lightning strikes showing up inside this cluster of storms throughout Jackson and Harrison County, Mississippi. That just goes to show you how loud this is going to be. So the tornado warning is still active. The Weather Service has not dropped it. Again, we don't have any signal from the New Orleans Weather Service office because this is not issued or dropped from the Mobile office. The Mobile Weather Service handles the warnings for every county in the area except this one, except Jackson County, because it's part of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's deemed part of the New Orleans Weather Service. So they're the ones that issue the warnings or drop them, and we're just sort of at their discretion when it comes to this kind of thing. So the northwestern part of the county is still underneath the warning. Everyone else is not for the time being. So that means if you're in Pascagoula or Hurley or Wade, you don't have any immediate dangers from a tornado. The weather is terrible there, but you're not in any sort of immediate tornadic danger. You are underneath, though, a severe thunderstorm warning if you are in any of our Mississippi counties. Jackson, George, Greene, severe thunderstorm warnings are still active. And of course, the tornado watch is up till at least 5. It will more than likely be expanded past 5 o'clock because that line of storms is going to take so long to work its way through. It's going to be several hours until the severe weather threat today is totally finished. We're not really looking to see that take place until we head in toward probably after 10 is when we'll see the storms exit the panhandle. Jen has just pulled up the latest graph model, Futurecast, and this is current time. And as we run the clock forward in time, notice that the main line is still going to take a while to get in here. It will be about 1:30 in the afternoon when we see the main line getting ready to cross over into Alabama. And then as we go forward, that's a look at just before 3. The main line still kind of hanging out around I-65. That's why I think flash flooding could be a problem. And we continue a little farther in time. Look at that. Just after 4, that main line finally moves east of I-65. That's how long it's going to take. And then as we go forward a little more to 6 o'clock, that's when we start to see things calming down, especially west of I-65. But east of I-65, look, you could still deal with more storms as late as 8 o'clock. Those could produce flash flooding. Pensacola, you'll be in the all clear after about 10:30. That's 11:15, and you can see storms would already be to the east of you. So yes, things will get better tonight. It's just going to move at a snail's pace. Now, sometimes we have severe weather setups that just come in, come out. We have maybe 3 hours of vulnerability, and we have nothing else to be concerned about. This is the severe weather outlook that Jen has just pulled up. That 1 to 5 severe risk zone scale that you're seeing up there in the top right corner of your screen. We do not see 4s issued off in here, which is the moderate risk zone. Usually we get as high as a 3. It's not often we get a 4, and we have a 4. And the 4 is for everyone west of I-65 and north of I-10. Surrounding that is a level 3. Don't worry too much about what risk zone you're in. Am I in a 3 or a 4? Because storms don't know lines on a map. They're not going to track through Clark County and think, well, I can't go to Escambia. They're in a 3. You know, that's just not the way Mother Nature works. So just know that everybody, no matter where you live, is under a threat for severe weather. Need to be able to stay weather aware, need to be able to get those warnings through the entire day. Jen is showing me on this monitor here some of the issues we're seeing around Pearl River County. This is from the Weather Service office in New Orleans. Near Picayune, that's the 6-mile marker, currently impassable due to water covering the roadway. So they've been seeing flash flooding problems out there around parts of Mississippi, and more than likely we're going to see those moving into our area later on today. As far as the bigger picture with the radar, we'll go ahead and go back to that because I know you can't really see what I was seeing on that monitor there. What you're seeing is this. And you can see the Causeway flooding in the top right. And Jen's just pulled it back up again. So there's the live radar. There's the lightning. The main line of storms is right there, right around Bendale. So it's getting ready to move into George County, and it's going to be working its way to the east. So that means that obviously driving conditions are not ideal, but you certainly don't want to go through this because that's going to be the main line of storms. Now, and they just shrunk the tornado warning a bit. They haven't dropped it, but they have shrunk it a bit. Once you're to the west of that line, your severe weather threat's done. And I wish I could say we will be there in a couple of hours, but that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a while till we're on the back side of that main line. So the tornado warning is still active. The Weather Service has shrunk it a bit. We'll go and see if we can find a couplet, a velocity display. The inflow notch looks like it would be here based on reflectivity, which would put possible tornado right there. If there's a tornado, it would be right there crossing Mississippi Highway 57. That would be the location, and that is to the north of Van Cleve. That's west of Wade. So here's Wade, here's Hurley, and your possible tornado would be right there, right around Mississippi Highway 57, and that's going to still be tracking to the north and east at about 35 miles per hour. I'll see if the Weather Service has issued a new update on the projected timing or projected speed of these storms, because it looks like it's been picking up speed. It's been dropped for Harrison. We knew that, but as far as in Jackson County, it's still moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. The only thing the Weather Service changed is they removed Harrison from the warning, but they're keeping Jackson County in it for now. The warning is set to expire at 11:45. It is broader, but the possible rotation signatures right there around Mississippi Highway 57. And Jen's pulling up this in Wilmer. Let's see, Weather Service in Mobile is saying that they're drawing up a new severe warning line for the line moving out of Mississippi. So I'm sure they're going to be watching things very carefully to see if they have to issue tornado warnings in Mobile County. We don't want that to happen, but it's a possibility that it could happen. And that's the reason why we've been pushing this so much. The STORMtracker Alert Day for today, we've been pushing it since Monday. And Jen, what are you seeing right now around the Wilmer area?
It almost looks like we're almost seeing some of that rotation coming in just on the south side of Wilmer. And so no word from the National Weather Service yet. But again, this was just in about the past minute that this velocity scan did update. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, in case you are in the Wilmer area, just be focused on us. Just make sure that you're staying tuned to the forecast, just because right there we are starting to see some of that light rotation in between Wilmer and Big Creek Lake, just crossing over Wilmer Road. And so go ahead and start thinking about where your safe place is, where you're going to go in case there is a tornado warning issued. Regardless, everywhere under that tornado watch heading into the rest of today. So while we are monitoring all of these storms that are pushing through, this one specifically beginning to get a bit more active. You can start to see more of those lightning strikes beginning to light up in this area. So again, just on the south side there of Wilmer, no word from the National Weather Service yet, but just lightly monitoring some of that rotation that's located again on the south side of Wilmer, just to the northwest of Big Creek Lake. And also we are getting an update from the National Weather Service saying that regardless, they're going to be issuing a new severe thunderstorm warning that will be including Mobile and Washington counties. So regardless of what this one's looking like, Mobile, Washington counties, you are about to hear your phones go off, mainly seeing that severe thunderstorm warning that's about to be issued ahead of this line of storms that's pushing in, bringing in all of those gusty winds. We'll continue to monitor what's just on the south side there of Wilmer to see if they do issue this, but some very light, broad rotation at this time. We'll get a few more scans in it just to see if it does tighten up just a little bit before we do keep an eye on that again. Michael.
Thanks a lot, Jen. And yeah, you're right. The signature is a little too broad, but it is something that we're just going to have to monitor carefully. And of course, the straight line wind threat is also a problem because we could have wind speeds hurricane force as we maneuver throughout the course of the day today. Let's go back to the reflectivity. What I would like to do is go back to that main line and let's pull this out, Jennifer, if we can, and just see how long it would take based on its current speed, 35 miles an hour, the main line to reach Mobile County, and when we can expect that line to actually get here. Let's see, 35 miles an hour. And again, this is just an estimate because it could easily speed up or slow down, but it would be to Loosedale at 11:37. That's in 13 minutes. It would be to Dawes in West Mobile at 12:14. So it's going to be getting very close. Grand Bay, it would be to you just after 12:20. And that's based on the current speed. If it speeds up, then these times completely change. But that's when the main line would be crossing over into the western section of Mobile County. And of course, that's where you would have the most lightning, the highest wind, the highest threat for straight line winds, and the highest threat for tornadoes, and the highest threat for flash flooding because of how slow that line moves. But it is going to be knocking on the doorstep of the state line shortly after noon today, midday, and hitting Dawes at 12:14, the West Mobile area. So everyone needs to be on guard and get ready because we're going to be dealing with some major wind threats from this. With the top right corner, you could see just how heavy the rain is falling in the storms and at Dauphin Island, and that's still ahead of the main line. What we're watching is we're trying to find the velocity couplet, and you can see it's almost totally faded out. What Jen is drawing here is the separation between the inbound and the outbound wind flow. The red color means that that's a wind that's blowing away from the radar. Green is wind blowing to the radar. So when you see the two kind of interlocked like this, like at Wilmer, that means that's a sign of rotation, but you need it to be a lot closer than that. You need it to be tighter. If it's big like this, then that means, yes, it's rotating, but not tight enough for there to be a tornado on the ground. What this symbolizes is more of a straight line wind threat. And Jen, is that kind of what you're thinking? Yeah. The thinking with this process, when you see it more in a linear state, is that it's going to be more of a straight line wind threat. Now, that's nothing to just sneeze at, okay? This means the straight line winds with this are hurricane force winds that can knock down trees and power lines. And if you have a very soggy soil from all the heavy rain, it won't take much to knock the trees down, and it can smash into homes, smash into roofs. We see that constantly. Outages happen because power lines get blown over. Trampolines go flying up, 3 states away, it seems like. So this is serious, and that's why you got to make sure that you had all this stuff locked down before these storms have worked their way in. But we're going to stay with this as long as the tornado warning is active. But it looks like to us that we're seeing less of a tornado threat here in Jackson County and more of a straight line wind threat, but definitely George County showing more of a straight line wind threat than anything else. Here's the watch warning map again in case you haven't seen this. So the severe thunderstorm warning now exists for Mobile County. We didn't have that before, but now Mobile County is underneath a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's because of the threat for straight line winds, heavy rain, lightning, and we're also going to be dealing with the threat for flash flooding. Now the yellow color represents a tornado watch, and that's going to be in play till at least 5 o'clock this afternoon. But the severe thunderstorm warning, hopefully you got those alerts on your phone and you got those through the Fox 10 weather app. But this means that this is a serious situation that's going to be moving into Mobile County. And it's because of these storms that are as far west as Wiggins that are moving in. That line is vicious. The lightning extremely intense with it. And Jen has shown you on the velocity, which shows you the inbound and outbound wind, how intense these wind speeds are. We've clocked them as high as 70 miles an hour inside some of these storms, and that's why you've got to be mindful of that. Jen just pointed something out to me, and thank you, Jen, from the Weather Service office in Mobile. Closely monitoring that cell. Oh, that's not good. All right, so this is Wilmer, and we told you that we have to look for the inbound and outbound wind. When you see it tight like this, that's a sign of a possible rotating storm. That's usually when you start to see tornado warnings issued. Now, there is no tornado warning right now for Wilmer, but the Weather Service is watching it. They're going to watch the next few scans. They just alerted us to that they're going to be very closely looking to see whether or not they need to issue a tornado warning for this section of Mobile County. So if you're in Wilmer, do not drive anywhere. Stay where you are. If you live anywhere close to Wilmer, stay where you are. Do not leave the house. It is way too dangerous to get out on the road with the possibility of a tornado, especially with wind gusts that could be hurricane force blowing through, in addition to the constant lightning and the constant downpours of rain. But Jennifer, I would say that's a tighter couplet than we even saw in Mississippi.
That's exactly right. I would say that this one has looked more impressive than the actual tornado warning for the Jackson County one. But also, as you mentioned earlier, something that you need to watch for is that these are two different National Weather Service offices. Our National Weather Service office here does a fantastic job at not issuing a lot of these warnings until they really get a better idea that that threat is active and that you need to go into your safe space. And so that's where some of the disconnect is, especially closer towards Jackson County. But our National Weather Service, they do a great job with it. And so they're just monitoring this. They don't want to jump the gun too early on issuing that tornado warning to have you worry in case there isn't that active threat. So that's why they're watching it. They did just say that the rotation, it has broadened out with that most recent radar scan. So that is good, but they're going to continue to monitor it closely. And so just stay updated with us here at Fox 10 as it does continue to track through the northern portion of Mobile County. We are live streaming on our Facebook, on our app. So just a reminder that in case you want to stay updated with us that way, that's a fantastic way to do it. I'm also monitoring the comments on our Fox 10 Facebook page on the Facebook Live, just in case you do have any questions for us specifically there. We'll try and answer them to the best that we can. But team coverage here so far for this afternoon, or I guess still late morning by this point. Meteorologist Nicholas Herboso on the road, and then me and Michael White in studio here just monitoring this. But the threat's still going into this afternoon and this evening. Stay updated with us. Have a way to get those alerts, those warnings. We'll continue to monitor this. Again, broadening out closer towards Wilmer, but still monitoring that active tornado warning just closer towards Jackson County, Mississippi.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, Jennifer, that the rotation with it is broadening out. That means the Weather Service is holding off issuing a tornado warning for Mobile County, which would include Wilmer. That is definitely a sign of rotation, where you got the red and the green interlocked like that, because red means wind blowing away from radar, green is wind blowing to radar, and when they're tight like this, that means the storm is clearly rotating, and that's how we track tornadoes in real time when we're doing severe weather coverage. But because it is broadening out, that means the Weather Service is holding off on pulling that trigger on issuing the tornado warning, because they know once they do that, the sirens go off, your phones go off, and so they're proceeding with caution. Now, I do think straight line winds, when that line that's in George County shows up, it is going to feel like a hurricane's blowing through your house, because you got these wind speeds of around 70 to 80 miles an hour within these storms. The rotating storm down here in Jackson County, technically still showing signs of rotation, but it's still more of a straight line wind threat. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Weather Service in New Orleans drops the tornado warning before 11:45. That's when it is set to expire. For now, it is still in play. Now, there it is right there. And look, we've got our first flash flood warning on the board. That includes Biloxi and includes the western end of Jackson County. And remember, flash flooding is also a big concern with the storms that we've got today. And the reason why is because they're taking so long to move out, and they're dumping tremendous amounts of rain. So if you live in a flood-prone zone, that is going to be a big issue. We've got a fellow Fox 10 meteorologist, Nicholas Herboso. He's been traveling in the STORMtracker truck, and he's back with another update. Nick, what are you seeing right now?
All right, so right now we are on 63 in Jackson County, Mississippi, just about a mile south of Wade. We are in the area where that squall line is super intense, and we've just gotten into it. We're continuing northbound on 63, heading towards Wade, Mississippi. And I will tell you right now already, we might actually have to stop at this point, because it is this is extremely intense wind that we're already seeing, and very heavy rain. I will tell you, based on reports that I have been monitoring earlier, over towards just off to my west in places like Van Cleve, where this line passed through, we have seen reports of trees down. We have seen reports of the damaging winds, because this is a severe thunderstorm, a considerable severe thunderstorm. So you can see what we're driving through right now is very difficult. So this is what's going to be coming through places like Mobile County a little bit later. So that's what we're dealing with right now here, just south of Wade on 63 in Jackson County, Mississippi. Plenty of wind and heavy, heavy rain. I'm kind of waiting to see, as the wind gets stronger and stronger as we get deeper into the squall line, what we get out of that. We have been watching the rotation as well. That was just to our north now in northern Jackson County. It keeps spinning up every once in a while, but then dies right back down. And I'm keeping my eyes on that on radar here in the storm tracker. So I'll send it back to y'all.
Hey, thanks a lot, Nick. Remember to be safe out there. Yeah, I was just checking the radar, and I mean, you're going through some really nasty stuff. I mean, the rain rate is extremely high. The lightning is intense. And what you just saw from Nick's camera is what it would be like if you try to drive through it, which is why we encourage you to stay off the roads. If you have to be somewhere, you need to try to get there before the storms show up. Now, Nicholas is a trained expert on these things, so he knows what he's doing when it comes to getting near these storms. But for the average person, it's just scary to end up trying to go through something like this. So we definitely discourage any travel like that. So you want to make sure you avoid that and stay off the roads until the danger is over. Now, once the danger is over, you're going to be good to go. Now, Hurley, big point, you need to be on standby because the line of storms is headed your way. And what you saw in Nicholas's video is going to be rolling right over you, I'd say, within the next 15 minutes. Let's draw out another one of those storm tracks, Jen, from this image and just pull it out for 35 miles an hour and just see what the latest estimate on time is going to be from that storm that's heading into Hurley to when it's going to be rolling into parts of Mobile County. So we're drawing that out to 35, and wow, Saraland, it would be to you at just after 12:20. So less than an hour, it's going to be over Saraland. Downtown Mobile just before 12:30. Grand Bay shortly after midday. Irvington 12:12. So this is going to be this is coming in really quick. We were hoping it was going to come in after 1, but it looks like it's picking up some steam and is going to be here shortly before 12:30. But yeah, 12:30, it'll be in downtown Mobile if that ends up verifying, and there's a good chance that it does. So that is certainly problematic and something that gives us pause, and want to make sure we reiterate that to you, that you need to make sure you stay off the roads when that line is on top of you. Wait till it moves out before trying to attempt any sort of travel because it's just going to make things absolutely miserable on the roads. What you can see right now is that line getting ready to push into Wade, Mississippi. Now, notice the Mobile camera at the Battleship Park. Let's take another look in Mobile County, Jennifer. It looks like Mobile County, at least spots, are looking okay. So downtown Mobile looks okay. Saraland looks okay. Magnolia Grove looks good. Sims looks good. But you got big storms right around Wilmer, West Mobile at the regional airport, Dawes, Theodore, where we are near the south end of DIP, 1065. But downtown Mobile, Eastern Shore is going to be good to go. But then you go up Highway 225 in Spanish Fort or in Baldwin County, and that takes you up toward D'Olive Street and up toward I-65 and up toward Bromley and up toward Busby Landing. And once you're past Interstate 65, you end up at the park, and things are looking dicey, at least in that part of the Eastern Shore. But you can see a severe thunderstorm warning has now been issued for the southern end of Baldwin County. That includes Foley, that includes Fort Morgan, that includes Loxley, Robertsdale, Summerdale, likely the Baldwin Beach Express at I-10 near Buc-ee's is included in that as well. And this is all because of storms that are going to be working their way to the east. Of course, all of Mobile County right now is underneath a severe thunderstorm warning. So this is just going to be a very intense situation. I do think that the tornado warning is about to be dropped off because they didn't expand it eastward. It was replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's good news. That means that we can get ready to gear up for Fox 10 midday, at least the last 20 minutes of it. And while we continue to update you on the severe weather situation. So as that line gets ready to cross into Mobile, there's a good chance we might end up being back on the air. But Jen, are you seeing anything left rotation-wise from Jackson County, Mississippi?
Not really. It looks to just be that straight line wind impact that we will likely be seeing moving into Hurley. So in case you are located in Hurley, just a heads up, it's about to get extremely breezy there. Same with Big Point, Agricola, Loosedale. You are right on the edge of this as well. You can really start to see that line of winds really beginning to get some of those reports of some of these wind gusts closer towards that weak Category 1 hurricane strength, the 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts just along the line of the system. Again, mainly pushing through our Mississippi counties at this time. Loosedale, Agricola, Hurley. Just a heads up that all of that is heading your way. You'll be seeing those impacts soon. But as far as the tornado warning goes, I really think that that area of rotation has just led ahead of where that warning space is. And so I think that we'll likely begin to see this dropped off. If not canceled early, they may just continue to keep it there until the 11:45. but I do think that it's already moved past where that warning box is, Michael.
Let's go to the reflectivity, Jennifer, and let's check out the Gulf waters, because I want to see where that storm in Baldwin County, that one right there, I think is where they've issued the warning for. That's a pretty good signature of hail, and that looks like it's going to be moving ashore between Fort Morgan and Gulf Shores and Bon Secours. So this is why the severe thunderstorm warning in Baldwin County is issued. It's because of that storm cell right there off the coast, and that's going to be lifting its way to the north and to the east. Jennifer just pulled up the hail tracker. It's not showing anything right now, but that does not mean that we're not going to start seeing hail signatures with this thing as we progress forward in time, because that one has been dumping some hail out over the Gulf waters, and it looks like it could impact the southern end of Baldwin County, places between Fort Morgan and Gulf Shores and Bon Secours.
Also, today is the anniversary of 2 years ago of that major hailstorm that we saw down in Gulf Shores too.
It was April the 9th?
Yep, April 10th.
Oh, April 10th,
2 years
yeah,
ago.
today's
Yep,
the 10th.
2 years ago. So just a heads up for southern Baldwin County that you're in that severe thunderstorm warning. The system there has already showed that it had some decent sized hail earlier, and then also I guess monitoring that closer towards Jackson County, Mississippi too. You can start to see some of that blue just showing where some of that hail was possible earlier this morning.
That is unbelievable that this is the anniversary date. I was here, it was on a Saturday if I remember, and we were doing severe weather coverage, and I think it was Shelby Myers, wasn't it?
Yep.
Her car, or at least a friend of hers, down in Orange Beach, just got demolished by the hail. And it started off as a storm cell out in the Gulf waters, moved ashore, and that just wreaked a lot of havoc. It damaged a lot of vehicles that were out in Orange Beach. And so that's something that we're just going to have to keep watching. And thankfully, the hail signatures are coming in lighter across Mobile County, but they could always re-intensify. Now, the hail threat, thankfully, is lower than the wind threat, but that wind threat is massive. We're talking wind speeds upwards of about 80 miles per hour. Now, since that warning, the tornado warning in Jackson County is about to lapse, and we don't have any other active tornado warnings at the moment, I assume from our producer that we're going to go to Fox 10 midday. Is that right? Okay. So once in the next 4 minutes, we will then jump right into Fox 10 midday. So make sure you stand by for that. So that's going to be happening at precisely approximately 11:45. Jen's pulled up some of the wind gusts right now. You can see the gusts in Pascagoula are up to 40 miles per hour right now, upwards of 30 across Gulf Shores, Fairhope, mid-30s for Mobile, close to that in Pensacola. Remember, the gusts could only be getting higher as that main line of storms gets closer and closer to counties in our area, which is the main reason why a severe thunderstorm warning has already been issued for not only all 3 of our Mississippi counties, but all of Mobile County is included in that. The Baldwin County severe thunderstorm warning is because of a separate storm cell in the Gulf that's been producing hail that could be working its way onshore. We'll be monitoring that throughout the course of the day as well, and also know that we're going to be breaking in at any given moment if we get any new warnings, and we'll just continue to follow that squall line as it veers its way across parts of Mobile County. And Jennifer, you can see right there, you just pulled it up, severe thunderstorm warning for everybody in Mobile County from that main line that's in Mississippi. The warning in Baldwin County has to do with that storm cell that's out in the Gulf waters that could move ashore, but the tornado watch that you have highlighted in yellow that covers everybody, that's in play till at least 5, and we've also got a threat for flash flooding too. So needless to say, we still have a long ways to go.
That's exactly right. And also I just wanted to update, again, I'm monitoring those comments on our Facebook, on our Fox 10 Facebook Live, and I did just get an update from Elizabeth Ann McKnight. She said that she received some hail in Wilmer already. Amanda C. Denmark also said that it hailed at her house, and then we just got a message on Facebook from Terry Kirby saying that she had hail, rain, and also heavy wind in Sims, and she sent us a picture of a snapped pine tree. So again, even if you're not seeing some of these storms just yet, just know that they're coming. The wind is going to be a concern. The flooding will be a concern, especially for the Florida Panhandle heading into this afternoon and this evening. We're already getting reports of hail, and we've seen some of that rotation across the Gulf Coast so far for late morning, early afternoon. So just make sure that you have a way to get those alerts, get those updates, and stay updated with us here on Fox 10. If there is a tornado warning, we will always be live streaming on our news app, our weather app, and also on our Fox 10 Facebook Live and on air, just to keep you updated with the forecast. Something else that I wanted to mention too as we make our way into the rest of today, again, that tornado threat is still there, but these gusty straight line winds will be a main concern heading into the remainder of today. And also, in case you do have any of those damage reports, like we just received them, you can submit those through the app. You can submit those through the website, and that way we can pass those along to the National Weather Service. They love to get these reports. That way they know what moved through. That way they can keep us updated on what's going on. And the best eyes are the eyes on the ground. The reports that you make out in the field, for at your home, wherever you are, in case you do see any of those damage reports, go ahead and send those our way. That way we can directly relay that back to the National Weather Service, and they can continue to keep everyone else updated as well. Michael.
Thanks, Jen. Well, we're coming up on 11:45, so the warning is going to be expiring for Jackson County. Now, we are going to stay with you with weather coverage as the squall line moves through. Even though there's not going to be any more active tornado warnings for now, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings, and the wind gusts have been reported up to 70 miles per hour, almost hurricane force, and that threat's going to continue through the afternoon, which is why you got to make sure you stay weather aware. So what we'll do is we will go to a quick break. We will come back. We will continue following this. We're basically going to spend the rest of the Fox 10 midday hour with you. Jennifer and I will, continuing to track the storms, show you where the heavy rain is, and continue to monitor that main squall line as it gets closer and closer into the Alabama state line. That warning should be dropping off, and there it goes. And so we will take a quick time out, but we will be back in just a few minutes. Jen and I will here in the Fox 10 Storm Tracker Center. So just remember to stay safe, and we'll be back to follow that line as it gets closer to